Welcome to the Binge List, fellow TV and film fanatics. I'm Greg, and I make recommendations for TV shows and movies that you can access from the comfort of your own home. And who does not love the shadowy stories of spies and espionage? So let's talk about some of the best options that you can jump in and start streaming right away. And I included a few variations from high-octane action to secret backroom deals, to even some comedic options here, and a personal favorite of mine. And as a note, I did not include two awesome options only because I recommended them in the last month, and that is The Old Man and Slow Horses. But they're both great options you can check out right here after you finish up this video. And before we get started, now that the channel has started to make a little bit of money, I do want to give back to all my subscribers. So like the video, comment your favorite series down below, and subscribe to the channel, and you'll get entered into a drawing for a $100 gift card at the end of the month. And you can put that towards your favorite streaming service. But as always, stop mindlessly scrolling, stop wasting your time, and let's jump in and check out the list.
Do you love your country?
I am serving my country right now.
Your country needs more.
First up on our list today is Paramount Plus's Lioness, and this is a gripping spy thriller that follows Zoe Saldana as Jo, who leads a team of female agents dubbed the Lioness team on dangerous undercover missions to dismantle terrorist organizations. And this is yet another great option from the mind of Taylor Sheridan, who, if you're not familiar with, brought us Yellowstone, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, and I can say that this series is a pretty thrilling ride with plenty of twists and turns that keep you engaged throughout as it explores these complex moral dilemmas and even injects some family drama into the story. And it does not shy away from the action you'd expect from this genre, with shootouts, hand-to-hand combat, and overall suspenseful missions that they go on. For fans of Sheridan, he is definitely a draw, but you also get a star-studded cast that helps. Of course, you get Saldana, who knocks the rust off of her performance as Colombiana in this one and delivers another powerful performance as the badass leader of this group. But you also get Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman, Michael Kelly, and Layla de Oliveira. So if you're a fan of spy thrillers, this is an outstanding watch with some intense action sequences, complex characters, and an exploration of the dark world of espionage.
This work can be too much for people.
They tell us what to do and we do it. That's how it works.
Philip and Elizabeth Jennings are not Russian spies. What? Yeah.
Next up on our list is the FX show that you can stream on Hulu, and this is The Americans. And this is a critically acclaimed spy thriller series that aired in 2013 to 2018 and stars Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys as Elizabeth and Philip Jennings, who are two Soviet KGB agents posing as an American couple in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. during the Cold War. The Americans is one of those series that starts off pretty good, and then it gets better and better with each season, and it's a masterclass in suspense. Every episode features a varying level of tension and intrigue, where even the everyday actions or decisions made by these leads have some significant value to the story. And this makes the story itself complex and intricate, sometimes even making it tricky to follow because all of the shadiness and double crosses, but it makes you eager to watch the next episode. And for me, all of that really comes second to Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys' performances. They are outstanding as the complex and complicated spies in this series who are dealing with their missions, yes, but they're also dealing with their everyday family activities, showing them balancing these two worlds. And I mentioned this a ton in my dystopian shows video, but the world these characters live in is so meticulously put together, from the wardrobe to the historical settings. It does feel like you could step right into it. If I had to nitpick anything in this series at all, I would say that sometimes those family dynamics can muddy up or even overshadow the espionage, but overall this is a gripping story with stellar performances and great world building, making The Americans a stellar series to jump into.
I think about what you eat before you work, or what shampoo you use. I think about what you feel when you kill someone. I just want to know everything.
Bye-bye.
On to my third pick with this series, Killing Eve, which is this darkly comedic spy thriller series that follows the intense cat and mouse game between Eve, who is this British intelligence officer, and Villanelle, who is a skilled assassin. Now, I will say that Killing Eve is certainly not your traditional spy series. It has all the elements you look for, the twists and turns, the morally ambiguous characters, high stakes situations, but at the core of the series, it really focuses on this twisted and obsessive relationship between the two lead characters. It's very intriguing to see, but just weird at times to see these two complex and compelling characters from vastly different backgrounds and different worlds come together. And they never really fully explain in my mind why they're so drawn to each other, but Jodie Comer and Sandra Oh, who play the leads in this series, work together super well. They have exceptional chemistry together. They just have this intrigue to them when they're on the screen, which does lead to some of the sharp, clever, and even the humorous dialogue that you find in it. And if that's not enough, the series looks really cool. It's very stylish. It gives you beautiful costumes, stunning cinematography, and even the sound design at times feels very alluring. And one thing I'll mention is a few times in the later seasons, the series pacing and tone can feel a bit uneven, and that's to be expected with a different showrunner every single season. But despite that minor flaw, it's a solid option in the spy genre.
You do this often? Kidnapping people off the street and interrogate them.
You're my first one, actually. How am I doing?
Let's move back to something a bit more traditional in the genre with Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. And this is a thrilling action spy series starring John Krasinski, who we follow as Jack, who starts off as a CIA analyst behind a desk, but quickly turns into a field operative that is thrust into a dangerous world of international espionage. I want to say this because I love John Krasinski, and I'm sure that a lot of you do as well, because he plays in one of the best comedy series ever. But to be honest, it was hard to stop seeing him as Jim when I started watching this. Yes, he delivers a strong performance as Jack Ryan right from the beginning, bringing a sense of intelligence to the character. He's very emotional. He does a great job with the action, but it still took me a minute to shake off the Jim here. And one thing you'll notice right away is that this show's production value is top notch, with each season exploring different parts of the world, along with a thrilling ride packed full of stunning visuals and this really impressive action. And there is no shortage of action in this one. You get a little bit of everything. You've got the gunfights, chase sequences, helicopters, explosions, everything you'd want from this type of show. So if you're looking for that more prototypical option, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is a must-watch for fans of action adventure and spy thrillers.
I want to find out who killed my uncle.
There's something we'd like you to do for us. No one outside this department needs to know about this operation.
My next pick is another unique series on the list, and this is the Freevee series Alex Rider. It does fit the bill for this list as it's a thrilling spy series, but this option is a bit lighter and less serious compared to some of the other options because it's based on a popular young adult novel by Anthony Horowitz, where we follow the adventures of Alex Rider, who's a young teenager who's recruited into a secret spy organization. I personally have not read the books for this series, but I know that some people had some strong opinions on the adaptations and the reviews and comments that I read. Alex is older and some stuff with the relationship with his uncle, and I totally get that. Not staying true to the source material can be devastating for diehard fans. And I still refuse to watch the M. Night Shyamalan Avatar remake. But for me, with zero exposure, I enjoyed this series. It definitely takes you on an exciting, larger than life journey with this character. I read a quote where someone said that if you smash Spy Kids together with James Bond, you would probably get Alex Rider, which feels very accurate. A few times the flip-flopping tone felt odd, but for the most part they did a pretty good job incorporating the fun-loving stakes, some awkward coming-of-age elements, and even humor with some of that more serious action, adventure, and even those espionage moments. And I do not remember seeing Otto Ferrand in anything before this series, but I was actually really impressed with his performance, capturing the character's intelligence, bravery, holding his own with some of the more seasoned actors in the series. So if you're looking for something a bit lighter and need your fix of thrilling spy action, you could do way worse than Alex Rider.
You have 47 minutes. Stay in communication with me. Do what you have to do. I will be home by tomorrow afternoon.
Let's move forward and talk about my fifth pick on this list, and this is Apple TV Plus's series Tehran. This series follows Tamar, who is a Mossad agent specializing in computer hacking, as she infiltrates Tehran on a dangerous mission to disable a nuclear program. The setting for this series certainly made it distinctly different from a lot of the other series on the list that explores much more familiar worlds like the US, UK, or even Russia, which is a part that I actually really enjoyed. It was just another layer to unpack as part of the story. Again, no expert, and I felt like the world seemed very authentic too, with the attire that they were wearing to the architecture that they're walking through. It had an extremely believable backdrop. And I do want to say that the story itself is suspenseful and has thrilling sequences that keep you on edge, but is probably not the most original story ever told, relying on some cliches and some predictable plot devices that any fan of this genre is going to know. But one thing that I felt like they did really well is the suspense. It felt really tense right from the start. They make you understand that this is a dangerous world with dangerous people that the main character now has to navigate right from the get-go. And Neve Sultan's performance adds to this. She delivers a powerful performance that brings to life the character's fear and her courage in the face of all this danger. And I also want to shout out her physicality, making the action sequences feel believable and just adding to that intensity as well. No, Tehran is not perfect, but it is a unique option that blends political intrigue, tons of suspense, and some high stakes action. It's definitely worth checking out for yourself.
The enemy is everywhere, but he can't be seen.
So what's it going to be? Are you going to be all heroic and difficult, or are you going to be sensible and help us save the world?
My 8th pick is one that I just recently watched, and it feels a little bit like a hidden gem to me, but this is Rabbit Hole on Paramount Plus. And this spy series brings Kiefer Sutherland back to the spy game as John, a skilled private espionage operative. And when his latest mission goes haywire, he ends up framed for murder and on the run, where he becomes entangled in a dangerous conspiracy involving powerful forces utilizing technology to manipulate public opinion. This series here is probably the most or close to the most complicated plot of any of the shows on this list. The plot's unexpected twists are probably some of the most straightforward parts about it. They utilize non-linear storytelling, flashbacks, and at times you're probably going to be wondering what the heck is actually going on. But good thing the series does do a good job of explaining things if 1, you're paying attention, and 2, you commit all the way to the end of the series. So I'll say it's perfect for my fellow binge watchers because it does keep you eager for the next episode, pushing all the way to that end. And Kiefer Sutherland delivers exactly what you'd expect from him in this type of role, along with a solid supporting cast that includes Meta Golding, Rob Yang, and Charles Dance. So if you're looking for an intricate plot, strong performances, and some interesting themes, Rabbit Hole offers a thrilling and thought-provoking experience.
FBI, I need everybody to exit the train right now.
My next pick is the Netflix original series, The Night Agent, which follows FBI agent Peter Sutherland, played by Gabriel Basso, who, like Jack Ryan, goes from working at a desk to being thrust into a dangerous conspiracy after just answering a phone call in the dead of night. The series narrative moves really quickly in this one. It's one of the things that I really enjoy with it. It's always on to the next thing, and it's not nearly as complicated as a show like Rabbit Hole, but it does have the thrilling twists and turns that keep you guessing. And I did recommend this series before when it was released, but at the time I did not recognize the lead, Gabriel Basso, but he is outstanding in this series. Definitely a highlight as the determined and resourceful FBI agent, and he does have a ton of on-screen chemistry with Lucienne Buchanan, which makes them a duo that you really find yourself rooting throughout the journey. And the series itself does a good job blending in a lot of different elements. You obviously have the conspiracy theories, the action, the adventure, but you also get some romance and some quality character moments too. So check out The Night Agent. It might not be the highest rated series on the list, but it's definitely one of my personal favorites here with this fast-paced plot, high stakes action, and some truly compelling characters. Absolutely worth checking out.
Everybody's gone.
Number 9 here on this list is another Amazon Prime series, and this is The Terminal List. Now, I will admit that this is a smidge of a stretch to fit into a spy show, but it's got special ops, conspiracies, and high stakes missions, so I did include it. But the series follows James Reese, played by Chris Pratt, who is a Navy SEAL who's seeking revenge after his family is tragically murdered. And as he goes on the warpath, he uncovers a large conspiracy and he must navigate a dangerous world of corruption and betrayal. You do realize early on in this series that Pratt's character is not the most reliable source of information, as he's dealing with some type of memory loss, but that keeps the series pretty intriguing as it slowly unveils more and more and you start to piece together the puzzles of the mystery. And I am personally a huge fan of Chris Pratt, from Parks and Rec to Star-Lord, of course, so it was really exciting to see him in this series. He does deliver an intense and emotional performance as this vengeful Navy SEAL, but it's not just him. He does have a really solid supporting group with him in this, with Constance Wu, Taylor Kish, JD Pardo, along with a bunch of others. And like many of the stories on this list, there is some great action, with Pratt channeling his inner Rambo at times, becoming this one-man wrecking crew. And it's pretty par for the course, but Amazon always pumps a ton of money into the production of its shows, and this one's no different. So if you like Pratt, intense action sequences, or just a good conspiracy, The Terminal List is a great watch.
I don't need you to vote for me. Only to protect me.
Rest assured, Mum. I'll do what's required.
My 10th pick is another Netflix original series here, and this is Bodyguard, where we follow war veteran David Budd working as a police sergeant assigned to protect a controversial home secretary whose politics stand for everything he despises and finds himself torn between his responsibilities and his beliefs. The series itself, it does have action in it, of course, and one of the most intense opening sequences of any show on the list today, but it is not as action-packed as some of the others. It does feel like this show puts a little bit more emphasis on the characters' personal drama and some of the political elements and some of the others, which is not a bad thing when you have top-notch acting, which is really what makes this show, specifically Richard Madden, who most of you probably know as Robb Stark from Game of Thrones, but honestly, he carries this series. He plays this complex and tortured man, and you can feel all of his internal struggles through his performance, from the PTSD that he's dealing with to the conflicting feelings he has towards this woman he's sworn to protect, which did end up landing him a ton of awards for his performance, including a Golden Globe for Best Actor. So if you're looking for a quicker binge option, this is a solid one. It only currently has 6 episodes with some intense drama and an outstanding performance from Madden.
Have you ever conspired with a foreign intelligence officer?
I did not.
How can you be so sure if there's 180 days of your life you don't remember?
Next is another one of my personal favorites on the list here, and this is the series Homeland. My dad is actually the person who got me to watch this show way back when it was released, as he was obsessed with it at that time. And well, this is just another one of those things that my dad was right about. But this series stars Claire Danes as Carrie Matheson, a CIA agent with a bipolar disorder, and we follow her as she navigates a complex world filled with terrorism and counterintelligence. Out of all the ones that we've talked about so far, this series is the biggest commitment, with 8 seasons of 12 roughly 1 hour long episodes, and I feel like the commitment is worth it. It's a gripping and suspenseful series all the way through, which if that was it, it would still be a great series. But what really makes this a great series in my mind is that you have one of the craziest and most compelling protagonists on this list. Carrie Matheson is a total wild card who at any moment could just go off in any direction, which makes the series exciting because it's very, very unpredictable at times. And Claire Danes, who plays this character, her performance captures the character's instability perfectly, with a really solid supporting cast that she works off of with this, including names like Mandy Patinkin, Rupert Friend, Damon Lewis, David Harwood, Diego Klattenhoff, plus a ton of other great performances through all 8 seasons. So if you're looking for a show that you can sit down and watch for a while, Homeland is a great place to start.
6 years ago, I was taken out of prison and forced by a covert unit of the government to be an assassin. 3 years ago, I escaped and have been hunted ever since. I was the first recruit to get out.
So my next pick is kind of coincidental because this is another show on this list that my dad recommended to me, and this is the action spy thriller Nikita that aired from 2010 to 2013, and this one reimagines the classic story of a woman trained to be a deadly assassin. Maggie Q stars as Nikita in this one, who is the former prisoner who is now recruited by this secret government organization called the Division and is transformed into this living lethal weapon. And I'd heard about the other versions of this show in the past, and I'd really had no expectations walking into this one. But when my dad explained this to me, the character and the concept actually reminded me of this less superhero version of the MCU character Black Widow, with a similar background, training, and the assassin-esque type. So I figured I would give it a try, and it turns out it was a great option again here. This series may be a little bit older, but overall it's still pretty visually stunning in a lot of ways, from the stylish action sequences and expert choreography that goes into it, the lavish settings that they explore, cinematography looks really cool, and of course you get the beautiful Maggie Q in this. And she is way more than a pretty face in the series. She does deliver this emotional performance as this complex character Nikita, and of course becomes this true badass during the action sequences. They take full advantage of her martial arts training and athleticism with, like I said, the well choreographed gunfights, hand-to-hand combat, and the chase sequences she's part of. Definitely check out Nikita. This is another solid option for spy thrillers and action fans.
If you join the CIA, will you be able to separate your work from your personal life?
If you like Nikita, my next pick will probably work pretty well for you too, and this is Covert Affairs. This is another stylish spy thriller series starring Piper Perabo as Annie Walker, who is a young CIA operative, and her blind handler Augie Anderson. The show itself follows her as she navigates this complex world, balancing her personal life, her relationships, and these high-stakes missions. Is it a bit outlandish and filled with a ton of plot armor for the main characters? Absolutely, but it is still a series that you can sit back and enjoy casually, or you can commit to the full 5 seasons. The series does this really good job of balancing the episode-to-episode stories with its overarching longer plot, where each episode explores what feels like a self-contained mission for the team to solve, but they end up building it into these ongoing plot arcs that weave together over even multiple seasons. And like a few others on this list, you get another strong and beautiful female lead in Piper Perabo, who delivers a quality performance, fully embraces the physical demands of the role, but I was actually really surprised at how funny she is in this series. And you see a lot of it with the buddy cop relationship that she has with Augie Anderson in this. They have great chemistry in a lot of ways throughout the series, but one of the best is the great banter they have back and forth where they're playfully teasing each other. If you're looking for something that'll keep you on the edge of your seat but also make you laugh with some witty dialogue, Covert Affairs is a solid option to get started with.
When all this began, I was such a different person. It's quite a story.
Just say goodbye.
Let's move on to another one of my personal favorites on this list, and this is The Blacklist. This is a critically acclaimed thriller series starring James Spader as Raymond Red Reddington, who is this former government agent turned into this criminal mastermind. And Red surrenders himself right at the beginning of the show to the FBI, and he offers to help Elizabeth Keene, and really only Elizabeth Keene, catch some of the world's most dangerous criminals. This is another option on the list that is a little bit of a hefty commitment with 10 seasons, but The Blacklist is super addictive and has this complex and super intriguing mystery that keeps you coming back for more. This has that similar episode to episode layout that we've talked about before with a larger plot over the seasons, but the mystery is really what keeps you engaged. You almost or just about find out the mystery I'm talking about here about 100 times throughout the first couple seasons, which can be super frustrating, but they know how to keep you coming back for the next episode. And on top of the mystery, the series has a solid cast. Yes, it's great. There's a lot of really good actors in this one that all contribute quality performances in one way or another, but this is James Spader's show, and Red is such an amazing character. It's honestly one of the most memorable characters in recent memory. He is mysterious, he's charismatic, he can be intense, he's very witty, and so much more. It's truly magnificent to watch him on screen, and he really makes this show. So highly recommend this one. It's worth watching for Spader's performances alone.
You'll be in so deep, you'll worry that you'll never get out.
I got nothing to lose. You saved my boy. Welcome to the family.
The next title we'll talk about here is The Night Manager, and this series actually looks like it's gaining a bunch of traction again after 8 years, with the second and third season finally being greenlit and looking to come out with season 2 next year. But this is a gripping espionage thriller series based on the John Le Carey novel of the same name, and this one actually stars another high-profile movie star in Tom Hiddleston, who plays Jonathan Pine, who is this former British soldier turned into a hotel night manager, recruited by an intelligence agency, and once he gets recruited, he embarks on a dangerous mission to infiltrate a global arms dealers network. This one here is certainly not the shadowy, dark alley spies that you see in this genre a lot of times. The Night Manager feels very luxurious and sophisticated. It takes you to these opulent locations with immense wealth and these well-dressed individuals, and a lot of these individuals are top-tier actors in this series, including of course Hiddleston that we talked about, but also you've got Elizabeth Debicki, Olivia Colman, Hugh Laurie, David Harwood, Tobias Menzies, so you can imagine that you are getting some truly captivating performances as this group of complex and morally ambiguous characters come together. And the production team did an incredible job with this too, with the level of detail that they went to and stunning visuals to create this captivating world. This is definitely the perfect time to catch up or jump into this one before this highly anticipated season 2 drops next year.
You boys knew what's about to happen to you. You'd leave now.
Don't go getting yourself arrested for murder.
Up next is another title like The Terminal List that is a bit of a stretch to fit onto this list, but again, it's a show that I personally really love, and this is Reacher. This is classified as a crime drama series, but has plenty that overlaps with this spy genre, like mysteries surrounding the hidden agendas from people, the high stakes missions, the shadowy organizations working in the background. This one here, it's based off of the popular Jack Reacher novels by Lee Childs and stars Alan Ritchson as the character Reacher. He is this former military police officer that is this wandering spirit with a knack for helping people as he goes around. The series kicks off as Reacher arrives in this small town and he becomes quickly entangled in a deadly conspiracy whether he likes it or not. And I have said this before and I'll say it again, Alan Ritchson is an underrated actor. He's evolved from Thad from Blue Mountain State all the way to this stoic and monstrous character Reacher. And he is the perfect embodiment of the character Jack Reacher. He does capture the character's imposing stature, his intelligence, and his quiet intensity. And this may just be me, but one of my favorite parts of this show is the actual intense and badass fight scenes that are in it. They're all very well choreographed and they showcase Reacher's formidable skills at every turn. And yes, the action does take center stage a lot of times in the series, but don't get me wrong, it does offer some other elements like a deep exploration of the character of Reacher and his motivations, utilizing things like flashbacks and dialogue with other characters to truly understand him. So intense action, check. Strong performances, check. Mysterious plot, check. Really can't go wrong with this one here.
How does a person who believes in God come up with such a godless plan?
Next, we jump into a series where AT&T was actually getting into the game of production with the series Condor. This is another espionage thriller series based on a novel, The 6 Days of the Condor. And to be honest, this show is probably not as widely known as some of the others because initially you could really only find this on DirecTV when it was released. But now this show is a little bit more readily available and it does star Max Irons as Joe Turner, who is another young CIA analyst who stumbles upon a dangerous conspiracy that threatens the lives of millions. Like some of the others, this one does start off really hot and heavy right from that first episode where Irons' character is the only survivor of an attack on the CIA. And from there, the series builds its universe, introducing the different characters, the heroes, the villains, the team that will work with this character. And as you'd expect, the narrative is going to zig and zag and it's going to go back and forth, slowly unveiling the mystery that was set up early on in the series. And this series actually has a really well balanced pace in it with a mixture of intense action sequences and the quieter character driven moments. But I do want to say this, I am really only recommending season 1 here. This season is actually really buttoned up. It has a good beginning, middle, and end, and it comes to a nice close. Where season 2, yes, it is an option. You can watch it on MGM+, but I do not really think that it lived up to the expectations of the first season. If you missed season 1 of this series because of the somewhat convoluted and isolated release method that they went with on this, but you do crave some spy action, definitely give Condor a go.
Welcome to the CIA. How long have you been here?
10 minutes, but you're a very busy man. I get it. You're running the whole operation. You mean how long I've been working here? About 2 days.
My second to last pick here is another Netflix original, and this is The Recruit. This is another unique option here because this is outright a spy comedy series where we follow the life of Owen Hendricks, who is this new young CIA lawyer who through some bad luck runs into a former asset that threatens to expose the agency's secrets, and he now finds himself having to step out from behind the desk and go out into this dangerous world. I did not catch this one when it was released. I ended up getting hooked on The Night Agent and wanted to check something out that was similar, and because of how much I enjoyed The Night Agent, I wasn't 100% sure how this one was going to go, but honestly, I was very surprised because I like the show a ton. It's definitely different and I enjoyed it for different reasons, but it's fun. It's an engaging spy thriller with this charismatic lead performance. And it does have a suspenseful plot. It's got danger and action, but it never takes itself overly serious at all. The best part of this series here is actually the humor. It is packed full of witty lines and ridiculous situations that will make you laugh out loud as Owen finds himself in all kinds of trouble. And sometimes nothing's really going on. It's actually just funny because Noah Centineo is just a funny and silly person whose physical acting will just get you. So if you're looking for another unique option or something that's going to make you laugh, this is a great place to start.
Are you sleeping?
Please don't make me do this.
Are you sleeping?
And then there was one, and this last option is the series Treadstone, which is a spy series that moves back to the traditional and is actually set in the world of the Bourne franchise. This show explores the origins of the infamous Black Ops program, Operation Treadstone, and follows a group of highly trained super assassins as they awaken from their dormant state to carry out these deadly missions. If you enjoy the Bourne films, this is obviously a great option for you. It does expand on this world, but it's not just a reskin of the same stories. It does have its own interesting storylines that feel fresh enough, but as I mentioned, it is more traditional than the last few that we talked about. It's an action-packed thriller with a global scope and these mysterious organizations lingering over everything that is really happening. The one thing that does stand out with this one is it has a fairly complex plot that does jump around a bit, so it is one of those that you need to pay attention to or you can easily get lost throughout. But like all the others on this list, Treadstone is a great option for fans of spy thrillers. Thanks for hanging out with us all the way to the end here, guys. And I know every YouTuber says this, but like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It does help us get our recommendations out to others looking for good shows and movies that they can check out. But again, thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.